Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hello, changemakers. Welcome to the DEX Show. It's another special DEX Show. As some of you will already know, we did our first film DEX Show live in London with NextThink's Experience Everywhere tour just a couple of weeks ago. And now here we are, Tim and I, back together in the flesh in New York City because we're here for Experience Everywhere in New York, which we have the privilege of hosting tomorrow. If you're just hearing my voice on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to us usually, you can find a full video of this episode over on the DEX Show DEX Hub Mothership. But for now, let me introduce our very special guest today. His name is Derek Whisenhunt. He's from Southwest Airlines. And Derek, let me get your title, right? You are Head of Airport Infrastructure Engineering and Operations. Is that right?
That's correct. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a bit of a mouthful.
Wait till I start to explain what it all is.
Not a great title for podcast, so that's all I'm saying. Okay, so go tell us something about what it is.
So it's a culmination of some things that happen within Southwest Airlines. So first, before I ran in user computing, enterprise monitoring, our Citrix team, Microsoft platforms, and we really had been spending a lot of time focusing on our data centers and modernizing data centers and co-locating. Where we really wanted to make an investment moving forward was with our airports. So what we ended up doing, we created this field services station airport focus group that focused on the infrastructure in the airports. But when we discussed it, it just doesn't make sense to have two end-user computing or desktop teams. You don't want two groups of folks in your Microsoft System Center doing the things to two different groups. So we ended up leaving desktop engineering and operations a whole. Then we added network engineering and operations, server engineering and operations. And also I created a development team, which we can talk about in a little bit as well. I promised you it was a lot longer telling you what
almost wish I had enough at this point. I'll tell you something funny actually, because I've worked with Southwest a couple of times, and you are always wonderful people to speak to, and it sounds like a company with, as I maybe get into this as well, like a really incredible ethos. And I've always been full of praise, but I'm not American. I never fly Southwest Airlines. So this morning, we were in the boardroom preparing for the event, and I said, look, American colleagues, tell me what's your gut response to Southwest Airlines? I just wanted to test it. I didn't want to start singing your praises. And then everyone said, well, actually, that's just marketing. Everyone was so praiseful. Everybody loved using it. They were talking about how quick and efficient and friendly the service is. So a very genuine ethos is what I mean to say that comes off you. Is that
that's great that you're hearing that, because, and I talk to folks, most people do love Southwest Airlines. They love the experience. They love the value that they get by flying Southwest. You and I were just talking a little bit ago, Tim, and at the end of the day, you want to pay for a service, and you want to be able to get there. You want to be able to get the service, and the majority of the time, we get you where you want to be. But the magic of Southwest is the people. And from the day I had my first interview at Southwest Airlines, I've been there 5.5 years. I drove up to the headquarters, and the maintenance hangars is right beside the main entrance. And it's very interesting. They had a big, beautiful 737 right there at the entrance. And then you pull in around, and then you see Love Field. And then you see the airplanes landing and taking off. And actually, I got goosebumps, because that day was, for me, right there before I even walked in, I started to get that Southwest experience. And then from the time you walk in, the love and the passion and the friendliness that everybody has is shown in everything that they've done. And even in 5.5 years, the experiences that I've had at Southwest has eclipsed every experience I've had in any other company over the last 2 decades that I've had in corporate America.
Yeah, that's a great statement. One of the things that drew me to NextThink, not only as a customer, but now as an employee for 7 years, is the ability for IT to deliver that same great experience to employees as you as a company wanted to deliver to your customers. And working with you and your team even before you became a customer, I love watching that journey, the things those aha moments that you say, holy cow, think about what we could do for our people with this, and then watch the journey as you go. One of the things that struck me as you were going through that process was just that passion for the company and for the employees that work there. Any particular stories that bring that passion out? What is it that sets Southwest aside to really have that passion?
And I'm glad you said a couple key words that reminds me of a meeting that we had internally with a couple other departments. We were talking about aircraft Wi-Fi. So they bring in technology beyond just internal corporate, but they also bring us in for business outside technologies as well. When I walked into this room, they had a chair, and one of the chairs had a sleeve over the back, and it says customer. So no matter what, when we were in the meeting, we wanted to make sure, and it's definitely part of the culture and everything else, but that unique meeting, because I hadn't seen that before, to where we actually had a chair representing the customer.
They're in the room with you in every meeting.
Well, not in every meeting, but in a couple of these
certain
meetings,
settings, yeah.
specifically when, my customer, when I say customer, is the employee. Right. Like when desktop engineering and anything within my world, it's to allow my customers, the employees, to do their job to you guys as customers. And actually, I'm a customer as well. So for us, it really is, how do we take care of each other as employees, but in turn, that's going to take care of the customer itself.
Right. Good stuff.
Amazing. So talk about employee experience and how digital employee experience is a component of your overall strategy. Doubtless, employee experience is important because of that customer prioritization, but talk about that chain.
So Southwest is a very unique story, and I'm sure there'll be somebody in the room that did some sort of college study on the business model of Southwest Airlines. The unique thing about that is it's a different story than how most other companies came up. And I will, just being transparent, Southwest Airlines really was not a technology company. The founder felt like we needed to just make it as easy as possible. Printing tickets, handwriting tickets. I don't know if you've flown Southwest many, many years ago, but you got a little piece of paper or a little plastic card, and that's how you would get on the aircraft. Zero technology. But over the last, I would say, decade, we've really had to play catch up, per se, from a technology aspect. So technology has come so hard and fast, and as you guys are aware, if you've been around long enough in the industry, it's rough at times when you're deploying at speed. Even when you deploy, when it takes certain periods of time, it gets a little rough because you can't catch all the nuances of the challenges that happen with the technologies. But going back to the employee experience, even when we did these major fast technology deployments where we're taking literally manual efforts and applying technology to help speed things up, help the employee. The employees have been beyond accepting of these. Yes, what their struggles were, hey, you're slowing down, or you're not doing the right things to allow me to help the customer. But I'll tell you just an example. When I would say recently, probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago, we put iPads. Before, when you had a drink, when you ordered drinks, and when they took credit cards, they'd have to run them to the back of the front of the plane, and they hand wrote your drink on a piece of paper. Now they have iPads, so now we can do better tracking. We can they don't misread their writing. It's very easy, very intuitive. They spent in the millions of training for flight attendants, and they spent a very long time in making sure the flight attendants. So over the past of learning going too fast and too hard with technology deployments, we've gotten better, and we've really done outstanding job in bringing in our employees to the part of the project and then creating these training packages to make sure we get them where they need to be to reduce the amount of overhead, and I'm calling it overhead, that happens with issues that happen with technology deployments. That's a long answer, but as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. And it's a very interesting story to have a company from its humble beginnings come and then have to quickly catch up with technology.
And I guess the question then is a self-congratulatory one, hopefully, is where does NextThink fit into this sort of digitalization of the business?
So I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow as well. But if you think about enterprise monitoring space, so in the world of enterprise monitoring, you have great solutions for network, SolarWinds, Science Logic. You have great solutions for like server, Prometheus or Grafana. You also have great solutions, very mature solutions out there for the application space like Datadog or AppDynamics. You know, for the desktop, we were really left with the service desk leader blowing up my phone saying, dude, what did you do last night? Did you guys deploy something because I'm getting blown up? Or what kind of data can we pull out of Microsoft System Center? Or I've got very expensive engineers digging through computer logs. I just listen to them on the phone. Download the log. Can you email me or send me your log file? So if you think about other spaces, we just didn't have any of this. We were left by being 100% reactionary. What NextThink's able to do is give us that visibility into a world that we never had, and give us the visibility on different trajectories. So you could slice and dice the data. Now, the thing with NextThink, it's not going to give you the answer, but it's going to get you significantly closer to the answer in a significantly less period of time. So that's one piece. There's a lot of other pieces that we're going to use it for, but initially it's that just, and I warned people, I said, listen, I warned peers and leadership, I said, guys, when we flip this thing on, the issues were the issues they were when we had it off, so let's be sure not to knee-jerk react, because a lot of times leadership will be like, well, fix that. It's like, no, let's get the big picture. Let's get this thing baseline.
Prioritize.
And then let's walk through this and prioritize the work. What's going to be the biggest bang for the buck?
We're here at Experience. We're going to hear a lot of stories tomorrow about how customers have innovated. You mentioned the iPads. Where else do you see innovation really taking off? What's really the big thing for you that's coming up in terms of getting smart with technology and innovating?
For my group or for the company as a whole?
Whatever floats your boat. Where do you see kind of the innovation really taking off?
So our focus is, my team's focus across, outside of just desktop. I'll talk about the airport, then I want to come back to the desktop, is we're trying to get our airports next generation. So we're talking about looking at not just typical network of providing coverage, not just in the terminal, not just below the wing of the aircraft, but across the whole airport, because now we're a connected group. We have mechanics now that used to print off books of paper that are now carrying around iPads. So we have to look at the connectivity, modernizing the speeds of the airports as well, backbones and those type of things, modernizing, reducing some of the technology sprawl that may have happened over the years of putting extremely large servers and putting lots of stuff on there in a distributed world. Is there opportunities to consolidate some of this? So reducing footprints, but putting data and network where it needs to be, and also where it's expected to be over the next 10 years. So then zooming in the desktop space, it really is getting out of the reactive mode and simply making the technology frictionless. I mean, everybody has experienced, you've walked up to the counter and how many times, hopefully it's not a lot with Southwest, Are they on the phone and they're struggling with something with the computer? It aggravates them. It gives the employee a bad experience with the technology. It gives the customer a bad experience with Southwest Airlines. It's simple. Just make it work. Make it seamless. But for us, we've got to be we've got to be proactive, and one of the things also we will be using is a lot of automation and self-help.
Yep. Now that you've been on this kind of journey for a year or two, I'm curious on your attitude or your opinion of digital employee experience as a whole. When I rolled it out as a customer, the analogy we used was it's like turning on the lights. We now have full visibility. We see where the cockroaches are. We can go find things and fix them. And we didn't ever envision going back into the dark. Do you see DEX as a nice to have or a need to have?
So that's an interesting question. And for me, DEX is just a starting point for me. What I want the nuts and bolts, because without baselining everything, login times, boot times, what is high CPU to my organization? What is high memory? What's high input output? You can start with a baseline out of the box is good, but my focus, I think it's good and important, but without the effort of truly baselining your entire deployment, specifically for me, and what does my baseline look like of my entire organization and my platform, my service offerings, that mine and my team service offerings that we're providing to the organization. That's really, DEX to me so to answer your question, it's the starting point, but it's all the parts and pieces. That's the harder work that's down below that then rolls up, and that can be basically the green, yellow, red. How are we doing? And I if you don't mind, I'm gonna even take it a little farther. What I envision is my team gets a lot of calls, hey, what's going on? What I'd like to be able to do is enable my customers and create for maybe the head of all technology and ground operations. How about if I create her a dashboard? How about off in-flight and flight ops? How about if I create them a dashboard to where instead of them picking up the phone and saying, what the heck's going on, they actually have direct access to visibility into their devices without even having to call me. And to me, that just goes back to that Southwest culture. I want to enable the work groups to be able to do their job and have the information that they need that's important to basically move our our loved customers from A to B.
Maybe there's a good segue into my next question, Derek, which is, one of the things I'm very interested in at all of the experiences we're attending this year is where people are with a real-world application of XLAs. An XLA has been such a kind of almost academic concept for so long.
It is.
I'm always want to know, is it an academic concept for you still? Do you have a firm roadmap? Where do you see yourself in relation to that?
I think it's not part of our vocabulary yet. So mature organizations have even created departments and I've watched them at a previous company I worked at. I would watch them storyboard the employee's experience. We're not there yet. We've got a long way to go to be able to start to do that. But today we manage just over 100 different profiles. So when you think about the desktop world, we really consider what profile gets roles or profile. This is the application stack that they get. So for us, I think that we've got a lot of work. I think DEX is something after baselining that we can start to look at, but then the actual experience with the user experience. I mean, we're not at a point to where we're ready to even open that floodgate just yet. I think organizations have to be very prepared before they do that. So maybe in a couple years, you guys invite me back and ask me that question again, and let's see if I'm ready to bite.
Sounds like a good idea. So what is more firmly on your roadmap over the next couple of years? What do you know you're going? What milestones do you know you're going to be hitting?
So the important things that we just discussed is really getting the tie-in to ServiceNow, because that's the first big step of really this. We've got it deployed. It's out there. We're using it today. Is really getting it tied into our service management system, because that is going to be key for anything moving forward, especially the automation and those type of things. The baselining is critical. And we want to spend an extra effort in making sure the baseline's done correctly, because it's net new to us. It's something we haven't seen. And to me, it's just core to, before you can even, should start to make that investment, resource, financial investments into certain things, you really need to understand what is the tool telling you specific to Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, you're going to see some cool stuff tomorrow about baselining not only your own organization, but now looking to see where you stand versus other organizations. And are you kind of in a better position or not? Not that it really drives all that much behavior, but you're going to really have a good understanding of how well you're doing versus others.
Awesome. So I'll add, there's another part that we're already using it for. So I would say decades, or even probably before, when the my world, desktop world started, I'm sure you're experiencing this. I'm gonna watch his head bounce up and down here shortly. The noisiest departments would always get the best systems. Unfortunately, that's not the right way to run and manage your money. Again, we know marketing needs great systems, but unfortunately, we love marketing, but they typically bring us a system that they want. Instead of us actually going through the effort of proper baselining and benching and requirements gathering and applying to the correct systems. So if you think about that first, there's two huge benefits. Actually, there's three. Number one, you get the right resources to the right groups. You don't overinvest in groups that may not necessarily need it. And at the end of the day, if you are able to do this and stay flat, you've won. You may actually be able to save money. I doubt it, because you're constantly moving the technology forward. And if you can move from 16 gigs to 32 gigs and stay at the same price, and you're preparing that system for the next 5 years, something as simple as that, then that's specifically to me something that I'm passionate about, and that we're already starting to use it.
And if you're off by just a little bit across a lot of people, 45,000 people, it can be substantial. It may feel like a $50 or $100 difference, but it adds up.
But that $50 or $100 8 gig stick of memory, what is the cost of getting it distributed out to 4,000 call center systems?
You can't electronically distribute memory.
No,
right?
it's the other overhead. To me, cost is very important. I mean, we are low-cost airlines. We track everything to the penny. But to me, it's the value of the resources that I work with and partner with, that I just don't want to waste those resources. I'd rather be allocating those resources to the big, very important things, and not wasting their time because of a mistake we made in under-resourcing a set of computers.
So well said, Derek. And I'm so looking forward to seeing your experience tomorrow. And for our viewers / listeners today, if you couldn't be here in New York or London or anywhere else of the other experiences in Paris and Frankfurt, check the show notes. We'll make sure we link not only hopefully to Derek's presentation, but some of the other highlights from those experiences also. Just leaves me to say thank you so much, Derek, for joining us on the DEX Show today. Absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Derek. Always love talking to you. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Good to have you here.
It's great. Appreciate you having it. And New York City.
Yeah.
New York City.
Awesome.
Sign up.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how NextThink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nextthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.